Welcome back. You are doing a great job of getting through this. The patterns that shape our emotional lives can seem fixed and unchangeable, especially when we've experienced them repeatedly over many years. When a complex has been activated hundreds or thousands of times in similar situations, it's natural to believe, this is just how I am, or I'll always react this way. Yet one of the most liberating insights from Jung's work is that these patterns can change, not through suppression or control. Trying to force yourself not to feel certain emotions often strengthens their underground power, but through conscious relationship, understanding, and integration. Today, we'll explore practical approaches to transforming emotional patterns by working with the complexes we discussed in our previous video. These methods aren't quick fixes, but pathways towards greater emotional freedom and authenticity, allowing you to respond to your life from your whole self, rather than from activated complex states. The foundation for all complex work is awareness. Without the capacity to notice when a complex has been activated, we remain caught in automatic patterns, wondering afterward why we reacted as we did. Developing what Jung called the observer function, the ability to witness your own psychological states without being completely identified with them, creates the space in which transformation becomes possible. This observer perspective doesn't judge or try to change what's happening, but simply notices, my rejection complex is being triggered right now, or I can feel my perfectionist complex taking over. This small shift from complete identification to witnessing creates a crucial space between trigger and reaction, what some psychologists call the pause of possibility. To strengthen this awareness, start by mapping your complex landscape. Which emotional patterns recur most frequently in your life? What situations reliably trigger strong emotional responses? What physical sensations, thoughts, and behaviors accompany these states? Creating a personal inventory of your most active complexes helps you recognize them more quickly when they arise. Pay particular attention to the early warning signs of complex activation. These often include physical sensations like tension, heat, or energy shifts in particular body areas, changes in breathing patterns or depth, characteristic thoughts or internal voices, emotional tones that feel familiar and intense, a sense of constriction or narrowing of perspective. Mindfulness practice can be particularly helpful in developing this observational capacity. Regular meditation, body scanning, or simple breath awareness builds the mental muscle that allows you to notice psychological states as they arise before they completely take over your awareness. Understanding the origins of your complexes provides another important dimension of transformation. While awareness of current activation is essential, tracing complexes to their sources helps reduce their charge and provides context for their existence. Most complexes have roots in childhood experiences, particularly those involving intense emotions or repetitive patterns. The authority complex might trace back to experiences with dominant or unpredictable parents. The perfectionism complex might connect to early environments where love seemed conditional on achievement. The abandonment complex often relates to early attachment disruptions or losses. Cultural and collective influences also shape our complexes. Growing up female in a patriarchal culture, for instance, creates different complex configurations than growing up male. Socioeconomic background, racial and ethnic identity, religious upbringing, all contribute to the specific form our complexes take. At their core, many common complexes organize around universal archetypal patterns. The mother complex connects to the mother archetype, the power complex to the ruler archetype, the victim complex to the child archetype. Understanding these archetypal dimensions helps place personal experience in a broader human context. This historical exploration isn't about blaming parents or circumstances for your complexes, but about understanding how these patterns developed naturally in response to your particular life conditions. Complexes aren't mistakes or defects, but adaptations, psychological structures that developed to help you navigate your early environment. Techniques for exploring complex origins include working with early memories associated with the complex, journaling about patterns you observed in your family of origin, noticing similarities between current triggers and past situations, exploring dreams that may contain clues about complex formation, working with a therapist who can help identify patterns. One of Jung's most powerful approaches to complex transformation is active imagination, a method of dialoguing with unconscious contents as if they were distinct personalities. This technique allows direct engagement with complexes rather than merely thinking about them conceptually. To practice active imagination with a complex, step 1, begin a relaxed meditative state where you can access feelings and images easily. Step 2, bring to mind a recent situation where a complex was strongly activated. Allow yourself to feel some of the emotion, but not so much that you become completely identified with it. Step 3, imagine the complex as a figure or character with its own voice and perspective. What does it look like? How does it speak? What energy does it carry? Step 4, initiate a dialogue, asking questions like, what do you want me to know? What are you trying to protect me from? What do you need? When did you first become part of my life? What would help you feel more at ease? Step 5, allow the complex to respond in its own voice without censoring or controlling what emerges. The key is allowing genuine autonomy in the response, rather than planning or scripting what it might say. Step 6, continue the dialogue, maintaining both connection with the complex and your observer awareness. Step 7, note your insights, agreements, or shifts that emerge during the conversation. The most important quality to bring to this process is genuine curiosity. Approach the complex not as an enemy to be conquered, but as a part of yourself with its own history, needs, and wisdom. Even the most difficult complexes serve protective functions that deserve acknowledgement. Recording these dialogues through writing, audio recording, or artwork helps track the evolving relationship with your complexes over time. You'll often notice patterns shifting gradually as this conscious relationship develops. Since complexes manifest not just mentally but physically, somatic approaches provide direct access to their emotional content and energy. The body often holds complex patterns in specific tension, configurations, breathing patterns, or postural habits that maintain the complex's emotional state. When a complex activates, notice where and how you feel it in your body. Common physical manifestations include throat tightening, often related to expression or truth-telling, chest constriction, often related to grief or heartache, solar plexus tension, that's in your belly, often related to power or fear, jaw clenching, often related to anger or restraint, shoulder raising, often related to protection or defense. Simple somatic interventions can help regulate the physiological aspects of a complex activation. Conscious deepening and slowing of the breath. Intentionally adopting a posture opposite to the complex's typical configuration. Gentle movement to release tension patterns. Placing awareness in grounding parts of the body like the feet or your seat. Using sound, humming, sighing, toning to move stuck energy. These physical approaches don't bypass the psychological content of the complex, but provide a different access point, particularly valuable when mental understanding alone hasn't created change. The body's intelligence often leads to insights that the rational mind cannot reach on its own. For example, a person with an active shame complex might habitually collapse the chest and lower the gaze. Experimentally, raising the chest and eyes while breathing deeply doesn't deny the emotional content, but creates a new somatic possibility that can gradually shift the complex's hold. Our complexes become particularly evident in relationships, where they've often triggered and sometimes projected onto others. This makes relationships both challenging and potentially transformative contexts for complex work. Projection occurs when we attribute to others qualities that actually belong to our own complexes. Someone with an active critic complex, for instance, might perceive criticism from others even when none was intended. Someone with an abandonment complex might interpret neutral actions as signs of rejection. With awareness, relationships can function as mirrors, revealing complex patterns that might otherwise remain invisible. Notice recurring conflicts or triggers in your relationships. What do these patterns reveal about your complexes? When do you feel most reactive with particular people? And what might this tell you about your own psychological material? The therapeutic relationship provides an especially powerful container for complex work. Because the therapist maintains professional boundaries while offering genuine connection, the therapeutic setting allows complexes to emerge in a relationship where they can be seen, understood, and gradually transformed. Outside of therapy, conscious relationships can help transform complex patterns through new experiences that contradict the complex's core beliefs. For example, a complex formed around beliefs like I'm unlovable or I'll be abandoned if I show weakness can gradually shift through relationships where love remains constant despite vulnerability. The ultimate goal of complex work isn't control or elimination, but integration. Developing a conscious relationship with these aspects of yourself so they can contribute their energy and wisdom without taking over your identity. Integration differs from control in that it doesn't seem to suppress or dominate difficult emotions, but to bring them into relationship with the whole personality. Rather than a fragmented psyche where different complexes operate autonomously, Integration creates a more unified self where diverse aspects work together consciously. Even the most challenging complexes contain valuable gifts. The perfectionist complex, while potentially tyrannical, also carries standards of excellence and attention to detail. The victim complex, though disempowering in many contexts, may hold deep empathy and sensitivity. The caretaker complex, while potentially self-neglecting, contains genuine compassion and nurturing capacity. The alchemical principle of solve et coagula, dissolve and recombine, applies to complex transformation. The rigid, automatic functioning of the complex must first dissolve, allowing its essential energies to be recombined in more conscious, flexible forms. This integration process continues throughout life. As we resolve one layer of complex material, subtler layers may emerge. New life circumstances may activate previously dormant complexes. What matters isn't reaching a mythical state of complete resolution, but developing the ongoing capacity to work consciously with whatever emerges. Jung saw complexes not as obstacles to overcome, but as guides to wholeness. Each complex points towards aspects of yourself seeking recognition and integration. Their very distress signals their importance to your psychological development. The freedom that comes from this work isn't freedom from emotion, which would be kind of a psychological death, but freedom to experience the full range of human feeling without being controlled by automatic patterns. It's the difference between being had by your emotions or having your emotions as valuable sources of information and energy. As we move into our next module on shadow work, we'll explore more deeply how to integrate the disowned or rejected aspects of yourself. Those qualities that often form the core of your most challenging complexes. The shadow contains not just difficulties, but vital resources for your growth and authenticity. For now, I invite you to reflect. Which of your emotional patterns would you most like to transform? What might be the constructive core beneath its difficult expressions? How might you begin developing a more conscious relationship with this aspect of yourself? Remember that transformation begins with acceptance. Paradoxically, it's only when we fully acknowledge and relate to our complexes as they are that they begin to change from autonomous forces into integrated aspects of our whole selves. Okay, bye for now. See you in the next video.